Just Some Podcast Media.
The thoughts and opinions on Just Some Podcast are of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of organizations that employ them or they volunteer for. They are also not responsible for spontaneous black holes or nuclear wars that may occur. You have been warned.
Welcome, everybody, to another fun-filled and exciting episode of Just Some Podcast. This is Tom.
Hey, this is Vin. Tom, how's it going, bud?
Snowy and busy. Those are the two best words to describe my area at the moment.
And that's why I don't live where you live, because, I mean, the busy part I understand, but snow, it's chilly here, but it's not snowy, so.
Yeah, you're right. Kansas has never got snow before, so that's...
I hate you.
It's okay. I hate me too sometimes. But how's it in your area?
It's not too bad. You know, we're seeing, of course, this Viking Cub that we were anticipating seeing in November, December time frame. So there's that. And then, of course, along with that, you have all your patients who still have diabetes and hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and all the other shit that they have going on. So it's a good eclectic mix of patients.
Well, so to bring everybody up to speed, tonight we're going to be introducing you guys to David. David, do you want to say hello?
Hello there.
And that's actually exactly what we were talking about off the air, Ben, was that kind of mix that we're seeing right now in primary care. And I'm sure a lot of people out there right now are also seeing. And God bless my brothers and sisters back in the ER and ICUs. I don't envy everything you guys are doing right now, but I'm certainly glad you're out there doing it.
Tom, I certainly agree with you. And, speaking about nursing and mixing in the hospital and stuff, I mean, that's kind of where we bring David into this. David has another moniker that he goes by, and we're going to talk more about that, of course. It's Papa Smurf. No, it's not Papa Smurf. Papa New Guinea. No, that's not it either. Nurse Papa. That's it. Nurse Papa.
Nurse Papa. Although I do like Papa Smurf.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Tom kind of looks like Papa Smurf.
Yeah, kind of. I'm working on it. As soon as I get a little gray in this beard, I'll be fitting that out. I am the same height as Papa Smurf, so
you look a little bit more like Smurfette to me. I don't know.
Wow. Okay, that's a yeah. That's a new one. So I've been called a lot of things, but a chick is not usually one of them. So there you go. It's hard to mistake that.
No, you're a handsome man.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, David, do you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about your background kind of in nursing, and then we'll just go from there?
Yeah, sure. Well, first I'd like to tell you I am in Northern California right now, and the weather was about 70 degrees today. So I just thought I would rub that in first. But
thanks.
Show's over. Done with this guy.
But yeah, I am a pediatric oncology nurse, which means I take care of kids with cancer and other serious blood diseases. I've been doing that job for about 13 years now. And I'm also a dad of 2 kids. I've got a son who's 4 and a daughter who's 6. And I recently wrote a book that talks about the intersection of that experience of being a nurse to sick kids and a father to healthy kids.
So I think the most obvious question, or at least in my brain, I'm going to try to channel Tom, and I think it's in his brain too, is so what led you into pediatric oncology? Because, I mean, that's not something that a lot of people, when you see the little nurslings that are in clinicals, I want to go into OB, I want to go into ER. It very, very rarely is it, I want to go into pediatric oncology.
Yeah, I wish I had a good answer for that because I could barely spell oncology when I was a new nurse. I actually don't know if I can still spell oncology. It starts with an O and ends with a Y.
There you go.
I think, none of us really knows what is in store for us in life and also in nursing careers. You can start off in ER and think you're going to love it, and it turns out to be a complete nightmare. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew what I didn't want to do and applied to quite a few nursing jobs after school, and it was the first one I got. And it was a real leap of faith to kind of decide if it was going to be the right thing for me. And ultimately, it's been a fabulous career so far, but it has not been an easy one. It's been incredibly hard. And I learn a new thing every day, every minute.
So to be fair, your position is one of the few in nursing that I would have problems with. And whenever someone says something about pediatric oncology, I'm always like, those people are angels. I literally don't know another word to describe it.
I agree.
As much, what's the word I'm looking for? Prestige, maybe sometimes like ER and ICU get. I always point to people that work like pediatric oncology or the floor. I'm like, yeah, but those are the guys that are really
in the trenches.
Yeah, exactly. Doing some work. And while there are people that are like, I can't deal with car wrecks. I'm like, okay, I get it. But I don't know that I could show up to work every day prepared to face what you face. Like, that is just a mountain that I don't know if I could climb.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all tested and we all kind of learn what we can handle and the kind of people that we are. And it's true. I think pediatric oncology definitely draws a certain type of person. But you both know that nursing also draws a certain type of person.
True.
There's a certain dark sense of humor and morbidity that is just part of being a nurse. And there's all these different things that we can and cannot do. And I probably could not do what you guys do, honestly, dealing with adults.
And I've heard that more than once is someone that is like, I want to be a pediatric nurse. And I'm like, why? And they say the exact same thing. They're like, I just don't want to deal with adults. And I'm like, there are days I don't want to deal with adults. So that is extremely fair. So, and I think you hit on something good for the people out there, because we have a wide variety, David, that listen to the show. And some of them are nursing students and stuff like that. What he said earlier, and I know was true for me, for certain, was I came in dead set. I was going to, work in a certain position, and I ended up going into an ICU, and I loved it. And I think for the people out there that are thinking about nursing, or they're just starting into nursing, don't limit yourself. Just like David said, you're going to find something someday that is just going to click. And maybe it's more than one thing, but if you go in thinking, I'm going to hate this, you might be missing a great opportunity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I am very fortunate in that I applied to one job, I got that job, and 13 years later, I'm still working the same exact job, which is a testament to how much I love it. But I have to say, when I became a father, the type of pediatric nurse that I became was very different from what I started. Being a parent and taking care of sick kids it's a real journey. I mean, there have been days when I've taken care of a dying child and even bathed their body after they died. And on the same days, I go home and I feed my kids and I put them in the bath and I put them to bed. And to negotiate that in your mind it's a pretty crazy thing.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, when I worked ER as a nurse, I can vividly remember a particular case that my daughter was about the same age as the child that we ended up coding unsuccessfully. And I can remember coming home that night and just watching her sleep. Mm-hmm. And just sitting in a room. And I even called my boss the next day and I'm like, I don't know that I can come back. Because it just hits you so much differently as a parent than, it's a weird, like you said, it's a weird thing to kind of transverse in your mind, because you have, not to say that nurses aren't empathetic by any means. Because obviously they are by nature, but you just have this whole different set of feelings and empathy for the parents of the children in those situations.
Oh, yeah. And you hit it right on the head, the nail. I thought that, nursing the kids would change how I became a parent. And that is very true. But the type of pediatric nurse I am, because I'm a parent, is completely different now, because my level of empathy just through the roof, and it's no longer sympathy. Before I had kids, I had sympathy for these parents and these kids, what they're going through now. But, now it's empathy. It means I can put myself in their situation and truly understand what they're going through.
Like when I have, kids in the office, it's their visit. So I will talk to the parents, but I always get down on their level and talk, because it's their visit too. I mean, it's primarily their visit. Like I had a kid today that we talked about starting ADHD medication, and she was kind of embarrassed by it. And so I got down on her level and we talked, and I'm like, this isn't something to be necessarily embarrassed about, but and the kids at school don't need to know. Like, it's not like we're going to stamp it on your head. But I mean, I think it makes you a better, well-rounded provider or healthcare professional to be able to kind of put yourself in those shoes.
No, absolutely. And I think you both can understand that as nurses or providers, there's so many opportunities to be a good person. That's what it's all about. And then we go home and there's so many opportunities to be an asshole. Are we allowed to swear on this line?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, no.
No, it's so funny because like I'm a nurse to these kids and these parents going through these really hard times, and I am my best person. I am Nurse Papa. I have all the tools in the toolkit to make everything okay, usually. And then I come home and it is a mess. And guys, like I am no angel. I don't want people to think that pediatric oncology nurses are angels. We're actually extremely dark individuals.
Okay, well, at work.
At work. Yeah, we all struggle with our things. Just because you're good in the hospital does not mean you're good at home. It's all a journey.
That's also one of the things we were talking about before you got on, Ben, was the kid in the office that's 8. I'm going to treat him, you said it's his visit. I'm going to try and make sure everything's squared away and we're going to have a great day. And then when I come home, yeah, I'm not always as patient. And maybe that's something to work on. Maybe I need to reverse some of that empathy and do it. But it is one of those struggles that I didn't have prior to having a wife and child that now I have to try and incorporate all that together. So I think that's also part of the struggle when people wonder what we do or how we do it. It's not always easy. And maybe sometimes that struggle is coming home and then seeing and having to be dad. And when you don't want to be, you're like, I had a crap day. I don't want to be dad, but you don't really get that choice anymore. So,
yeah. And the take home lesson is that we're just going to start all our kids on ADHD medications.
You heard it here first.
Coming from Nurse Papa.
When kids act up in the office, I don't, and the parents are very apologetic, and I'm like, it's not a big deal. It's okay. Because they're not my kid. I mean, and so
Yeah.
But then it's like when it's your kid, you're like, I want to just beat you. Like, and not that you do, but you really, that's in there. And it's just because it's your kid versus not your kid.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a very different ballgame. I mean, it's very easy to watch a child melt down in front of you and watch their parent follow them down the rabbit hole of despair and totally keep your equanimity intact. But like when it's your child, it is game over. I mean, sometimes my kid looks at me long and I lose it. I mean, and we're all fallible, and parents are fallible people. It's a hard job.
Indeed. Let's just break it down easy. How did you become Nurse Papa? Like, where did that come from, and how did that come about? When did you notice it?
So, I mean, Nurse Papa came from a struggle of, was I going to be a dad, or was I going to be a nurse? Was I going to be the person I was in the hospital, or was I going to be the person I was at home? And this kind of exploration to how I could be the best caregiver and the best dad at the same time, because they often seem at odds with each other. And writing the book has offered a way for me to take some of the wisdom and lessons that I've learned at the bedsides of sick kids and apply it to the way I interact with my own kids.
Why a book? I mean, and I don't mean like I'm not being a smart ass by any means, but I mean, that to me has never been like, I want to write a book. And so, I mean, just what furthered that along?
I think it's a very good question. I'm an artist. My training is in sculpture and painting. And I guess I don't sculpt clay or use paints anymore. And my medium is my kids. My art is inspired by what's going on around me. And now I'm a nurse and I'm a dad. And that's what inspires me. So I write about it.
That's pretty cool. Well, that's obviously, I know it's not coming out yet, but let's plug what's the name of your book?
Yeah, the book is called Nurse Papa, and sadly, it's not coming out until August 2021, which was
but still, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a real hard thing to swallow when I talked to my publisher recently about it. But it also is times of COVID, so it might be better to have a book come out when people can actually come out and read it.
And so it's going to be kind of would you call it a parenting book? What's your target audience?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. My target audience are probably nurses and parents and people who experience both those things. I think we all want to experience a paradigm that is familiar to us. We're all parents, we're all nurses, we all struggle with the same kind of things, being caregivers to little people who live in our houses and then little people who live in the hospital. And it's not an easy thing, but there is wisdom out there and there is a way to do it. And I'm trying to be thoughtful about how one can navigate that thin line and do it with some grace. And also totally fall on your fucking face. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay to fail. And I fail every day as a parent. I think, there's probably 1,000 different choices at least I make every day as a parent. And I'm sure I make most of those wrong. But at least I'm thinking about it.
Well, I'm glad you said that because
Yeah.
I feel too often, both as myself when I'm the parent, and just like Ben was saying, when I'm in the office with the parent and they're apologizing, I'm like, it's not that big a deal. And I think sometimes people need to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Some parents are just far too hard on themselves and expect perfection in a situation where it can't exist. So hearing another parent say, or a person that's both a nurse that helps kids in their toughest moments say, look, we're going to mess this up, but here's what we can do to try and make it better, is really something I think a lot of people need to hear.
Sure. And, another reason I wrote this book is because books that I've always really been attracted to that have brought me to a space or an environment which I would otherwise have no access to. And, as a nurse, I'm often a fly on the wall to these incredible events that are going on. To watch a doctor tell parents that their child's going to die, it's not an easy thing to watch or to even think about. But there's something tidier about reading about it so you can experience it and not actually have to experience it. And I think that's a really valuable thing.
Well, and I like you saying earlier, that basically we're going to fall on our fucking face sometimes, because you see these parenting books out there or blogs or Instagram influencers or whatever, and they all portray this perfect life. Like a Dr. Phil, like everything is just unicorns and rainbows all day long at my house. And that's not really how it is. So it's nice to hear someone who is dispensing wisdom say, you know what? Sometimes we're going to fuck it up.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay.
Or worse yet, are the people that see that and think it's realistic. And then they try to hold themselves to a standard that can't possibly be met. And so I, again, like you said, and I'm not blah, 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 blah. Words are hard. I'm also a reader. And that's one of the reasons I read a variety of books, is because, like you said, I can put myself in that place. Like if I read a book about being an astronaut, clearly I've never been to space, but I get to experience it through their eyes. And I think it's a valuable lesson. Maybe that's not the right word, but for a lot of parents to put themselves. Yes, exactly. To be able to see things or feel things. Because if you're reading about especially sick children and you're a parent, that's going to hit home. That's going to be something that we can all feel, because we've all thought it.
Yeah.
Even my own child, when he gets a little sick, my head starts going, oh God, especially nowadays with COVID, is like, oh God, like what can go wrong? What do I need to start doing? And I think it's important for us all to get that perspective from someone else that's been there.
Yeah. And I have to say that it's not all sad stories.
Well,
if it was,
I would hope not.
No, I wouldn't want. I don't know if anybody would read it. I mean, as I dug deeper into the writing, I realized I wanted to be able to describe not only the pain and challenges that these kids and their parents confront, but also all the joy, laughter, and transcendence that occurs in these halls. I honestly, as a pediatric oncology nurse, I am laughing my way through the halls, just experiencing life with these people. People are stuck in these rooms for months and years on end sometimes, and they just want to talk. They just want to joke around. They just want to experience something other than just thinking about their child. There is so much joy to be found on a pediatric oncology ward. You have no idea.
You are correct, because that's, in my head, I imagined like drinking heavily. Like I was not expecting.
Tommy, only after work.
I gotcha. That's when the vodka martinis come out. Yeah.
No, I'm not much of a drinker. But yeah, there's some really funny things that happen. And I think that's where the podcast comes in. It's a real light look on the levity and hardships of parenthood. And, once again, a message not to take it so seriously.
Yeah, and I think that right now podcasting seems to kind of be the hot medium.
We are so hot.
Yeah. Tell you we're just rolling in hotness right here. But it's just that seems to kind of be where everybody is going toward, because it's something that we can, you can do it on the go and you can do it kind of at your own pace, where it's not like sitting down and watch TV. I mean, you can do it while you're cleaning the house or whatever the case may be. And so, I think that's where we're seeing such a surge in podcasting. So, I really think you're kind of getting into it at a good time.
I'm probably about 5 years too late, but it's better late than never, right?
It's like Bitcoin. You can never really be too late, right? It's
That's true. It's a great medium. It's really incredibly challenging and frustrating, but also it's a really fun place to be.
And I was just thinking about that. Is like the beauty of the book is you can take your time, you can craft it, you can make it exactly what you want it to be, but then it's there, right? Mm-hmm. But a podcast, Monday you can do one show, Tuesday can be completely different. Like you can literally switch it up on the fly as you're doing it, which is something you can't do with the book. So I think you're really hitting the best of both worlds at this point with what you're the message you're trying to get out.
Would you please tell my wife that?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Now, since it's me saying it based on my experience with my wife, I'm going to say it's going to have a low success rate, but I will certainly say it. So.
Okay. Well, maybe Ben will talk to her.
I'll do my best. We'll see what happens.
Becoming a parent is like stepping into the great abyss. Even though billions of humans have walked the same path, some leaving behind tales of their journeys, the parenting experience still remains a great adventure. Join me, a pediatric oncology nurse and father, as I take a deep dive into real stories of parenthood and come out on the other side with a greater understanding of what it means to love, despair, and everything in between. Nurse Papa, coming soon on all podcast platforms.
Nurse Papa. Nurse Papa.
You kind of reached out to us, and so we're gonna kind of help your podcast get off the ground. And are we looking still beginning of the year-ish? Is that kind of your thoughts still?
Yeah, I'm hoping to have, I'm really OCD. So I've been really cranking out these episodes and then doing them again because there's always something wrong with it. But I hope to have, like at least 10 to 15 episodes out by the beginning of the year. And then we can release 2 or 3 of them first. And then every 2 weeks, just another one. So I hope to always be about 6 months ahead of myself. The difference between my format and your guys' format, it's pretty vast, which is, I think it's great that we're teaming up because people like to see different things.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you guys can get on the horn to each other and just talk and make a show out of it. It's amazing. I can't.
We were surprised too. Let me start.
No one was more surprised. Well, and that was
13 people in Nigeria, but
right. And they're all princes, right?
Yeah.
That was the beauty in the beginning for us is we did it for us. Yeah. We still are doing it for us, but all of a sudden one day Ben was like, "Hey, we got like 12 listeners." I'm like, "Sweet." And then like a week later, he's like, "Dude, there's like 100 people." I'm like, "Whoa." And it just keeps going from there. So, and go on.
I think we're in like 55 countries, all 7 continents, not tooting our own horn or anything, but
that's awesome.
Still got it. We're still chasing that space station. God.
Yeah, right. I've found trying to find an audience to be incredibly challenging, especially there's just so much stuff out there. I guess it all comes back to the book to me because I really want people to read it. And because I think it's a valuable experience. Making a podcast was just another way to kind of communicate similar ideas in a more vibrant format. So we'll see what happens.
And I also think it's interesting because your show, it seems like you want the overproduced type format, correct? Versus we're just bullshitting. Like that's what we do. We pick a topic and we dive into it. You're taking the OCD, I want to overproduce this format. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know if over the produce is the right descriptor, but it's very produced.
I was going to say heavily produced to be what I would use. Yeah.
Heavily produced.
Uber produced.
Uber. Super produced.
There you go.
It is definitely a very thoughtful and detailed oriented podcast. I thought, I think it's going to be interesting because it does involve a story of parenthood that I take a dive into and come out on the other side knowing that there is an answer, which is usually no answer at all. And then that segment is followed by a letter to Nurse Papa, where one of my readers has written into me with a question about parenthood, and I do my best to answer it. And these questions are amazing. I had two parents write about a Cheeto thief, parents writing about circumcision, and I do my best to take their questions very seriously, but also add some levity to it, add some humor, because I want people to know that parenthood it's not a joke, but it's pretty funny.
It is.
Full disclosure, I've gotten to listen to David's first episode. I was like cracking up. My wife was laughing. I mean, it really is. It's a drastic change from what we're doing, but it's in an entirely different realm. I mean, yes, it's still in healthcare and nursing certainly, but you're also looking more at the parenting aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a really good show. I think people are really going to be receptive to it. And I hope that people will write in for you also. What's your email address that you want people to write to just in case they are listening to this now and go, you know what, I need to talk to Nurse Papa?
No, so you can reach Nurse Papa at david@nursepapathebook.com, and I will read your question and write a extremely funny answer to it that will also solve your problem. And if you're lucky, you'll get to be on my show.
Just like Ben, I got to hear the first episode and instantly was like, okay, this is good stuff. And just like Ben, my wife wasn't around when I was listening to it, but I immediately went downstairs to the kitchen. I was like, okay, so get this. And then told her the story of the letter. Well, I talked about the whole show, but I really connected with the humor in the letter. And like you said, trying to answer it and give them some perspective. And the whole time I kept thinking, man, this is good stuff. I am really glad that we are working with this guy because I see so much promise in what's going forward because I think you do a good job. I think you have a lot to offer, and I really like the way you deliver it. So all around, I was like, oh, man, this is a good stuff right here. And I couldn't stop talking about it. So.
No, I really appreciate that. I know Ben made a comment about the circumcision letter I received about the question, when does a penis going from being a penis to a dick?
Yeah. Oh, that's when I was like, this guy. Me and this guy.
It was great. It really is. I mean, like I said, we'll get that first. And actually what we'll do with your first episode, of course, we're going to put it out on all of the podcast hosting devices that we can get to, Apple and everywhere else. But we'll actually do a trailer episode, and we'll just pull the first 5 minutes, and we'll release it on this podcast format also, so that all of our listeners who download our show will get kind of a teaser of your show and where they can download it at. So,
great. Are you prepared to lose listeners?
Yes,
always. Oh my God!
Great.
So
wait, I work with Tom. I'm prepared to lose listeners weekly.
I can see them ticking down right now.
I was going to say,
keep going up.
So I was going to say, I know you said you've listened to some of the shows, but apparently you need to dig a little deeper because
you have not totally offended me yet.
Totally, but I'm in there a little bit. That's where I'm shooting for, is a little angry. So there you go.
Oh, absolutely. If you don't piss off your listeners just a tiny bit, they're not going to come back. I mean,
And Tom is really good at that. It's an art form. And, you said you used to work in sculpture and clay. Tom works in hate.
Yes, hate and profanity is my medium. I'm like the dad off a Christmas Story. I'm just like, yeah, that's what I do.
You're like the Michelangelo of assholes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that is awesome. I like that.
I might get that as a tattoo.
Yeah. Where would you put that one?
I would have put it right where you could see it, so probably mid forearm. So there you go. Nice. It looks like the Sistine Chapel, but then you're like, hey, wait a minute. What is he pointing at?
Two hands in the middle reaching each other.
Well, and full disclosure, because I think that, like Tom last week, I think it was last week that you were talked about kind of being honest with our listeners because, they take the time to listen to us. David reached out to us and said, hey, he was wanted to look at doing a podcast and kind of wanted to work with us. And we had already been in the talks with Pollyanna about releasing her show. And so it was kind of an interesting time where like Tom and I went from having a podcast and kind of working on that to now we're a media company where we're producing multiple podcasts. And it was like just within the span of a few months. And it's like, this is just insane to think that this is where this show has gone from two guys who are bullshitting with each other because we have fun and because we're best friends to now we're producing this show. We're potentially going to start offering continuing education for this show. We're producing two new podcasts, Nurse Papa and Varied Pleasures, all within the span of a couple of years. It's just crazy.
No, it's really impressive. And full disclosure right now, as we were texting, if that's what you do on Twitter, I have no idea of what you call it. Do you call it Twittering? I don't know, but
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I had no idea.
Messaging. How about that?
Yeah. We're messaging. You could see the little dots. I had no idea I wanted to do a podcast. I literally thought of it in that moment as we were messaging. This is not been a plan of mine.
Well, it worked out.
It's worked.
Yeah.
I think your content, like, not blowing smoke up your ass by any means, but I mean, I think what Tom
please
said.
do. I appreciate it.
You're amazing. No, but it's what Tom said. I think the content is very, very good. I really like the way that you do the editing and the way that the show is produced. And I think it all just works really well. And I really think that once we get that podcast kicked out next month, I think you're going to be very impressed with the numbers. I think you're going to see a large audience.
No, that's really great.
I really genuinely do.
Yeah. And it all comes down to just putting something valuable out to the world and just like knowing that people appreciate what you're doing. I think that's really all that matters to me. And, ad revenue.
It's always a good thing. If we could get some of that would be great.
Yeah. I just realized we have one podcast about making kids, and then we have a podcast about taking care of kids. It's pretty much, we're the full circle now.
Wait, so
it really is. It's a spectrum podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we're all on the spectrum, right?
Yes, and I think you and Pollyanna, as far as like the content of your podcast, are at the far ends of the spectrum.
So what is her podcast?
So her podcast is Varied Pleasures, and so she is our resident sexpert, and she's a tantrika and a nurse practitioner, and so like her maiden episode or her maiden voyage episode, because she has a pirate theme, she actually had Tom and I on, and we talked about penis size.
Yeah.
And then...
Did you guys compare? What happened there?
No.
Yeah,
it's more like how it affects guys. But it was like, she has, again, a really great niche. Like, man, because everybody wants to talk about sex and relationships. Like, that's on everybody's mind. Then Nurse Papa's coming along. He's like, hey, you got a family. Here's the things. I'm like, man, these guys have really got together. We should learn some stuff from them, Ben. I'm going to start taking notes. So, of course, I won't be able to use them, but hey.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with your formula too much. Sometimes you don't know why something works, and it just does.
But it just does, yeah.
Apparently cussing at people that I want them to listen to me makes them want to listen to me more. I can't figure it out.
Because they want to know what you're going to say next.
The Howard Stern effect. Yeah. I want to know what he's going to say next. Well, yeah, there you go.
No, but do you guys hear my kids in the background? And
that's Nurse Papa right there.
That's Nurse Papa. Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Well, so let's get close to wrapping this up because I know you got to get your kids to bed. So we always end every guest segment with 5 questions.
Okay.
Join us on a journey into the inner psyche of our guest as we ask 5 questions. So we ask every guest the same 5 questions, and I ask the questions, Tom makes fun of your answers. Is basically how it is. But it basically just kind of a delve into the inner psyche of you.
Okay.
So
right,
don't think too hard, just give us your answers. So Question 1, David, what's your favorite medical word?
Chlamydia.
Wow. I was not expecting that. So.
Ironically enough, I just recorded an episode about chlamydia. I think it is the perfect word, and I'm going to stand by that.
I mean, it is fun to say, probably not fun to have.
It's fun to say it after you've had it and it's gone.
There you go. Like, what do you have? Chlamydia.
Yeah.
I guess it's better than saying herpes.
So I hear. I have not had chlamydia before. I think. I don't know what that was.
Yeah. It's a UTI. I'm making the air quotes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you guys get that?
From the toilet seat.
It was that couch I sat on.
Yeah. That tractor story is coming in handy right now. Yeah.
I think Tom doesn't know that I'm going to make fun of myself. So
You're making the job easy, Dave. That's what can I say?
Question 2. If you could do any job in the world other than what you currently do, what would it be?
Oh, man, I would be a traveling musician.
What would you play?
Yeah. What's your instrument?
I play ukulele. It's something that I've often played for my kids and for the kids at the hospital. I love playing music. It really brings me joy.
That's very cool.
Do you have a favorite song you like to play?
I'm the rare breed that can rarely play anybody else's songs, but only play my songs.
That works.
So, yeah, one of my songs.
I like that answer. That's a good one. That's hard to beat up because you're like, oh, man, I'm going to be a real dick if I say anything else. So
Come on, throw it at me, Tommy. Ukuleles are for pussies.
That tiny guitar. What's wrong with you?
Exactly.
Look at his hands.
You can't.
They're so small.
Good night. Question 3, David. Think back to your first car. Was it a stylish ride or a rolling turd?
The driver was a rolling turd. The car was okay.
What was it? Yeah.
It was a Nissan Pathfinder.
A Nissan Pathfinder?
It was the shell of a Nissan Pathfinder because my older brother had just literally destroyed it.
Wow. So not only did you get an old Nissan Pathfinder, you got one that your brother messed up first?
Yeah, it smelled like wet dog.
Oh, God.
That's always good.
Yeah. What was he doing in there? Or you know what?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Chlamydia.
Chlamydia.
Yeah.
All right. Question 4. This will be interesting, I think. Question 4, David. If your house is on fire, everyone, including your pets, are safe. Other than pictures, what's the one thing you want to get out of your house?
Don't say ukulele.
You know, at some point that would have been the answer, and I feel judged. I guess I feel judged.
Listen here, tiny hands. Just answer the question.
It would have to be my kids' Legos.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Lego set?
I am definitely of the school that Legos don't belong in themes. They should be built to their prescribed directions, but then immediately broken down, and complete creativity should ensue after that. You know, I would not get my kids Legos. I don't give a shit about them.
The Legos, not the kids. Let's clarify.
Yeah, no, I love my kids. Tom, I'm gonna get my ukulele. I'm sorry, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, you had to use tiny wood to make the tiny strings.
Right? Yeah. No, it's my ukulele is made of koa wood, which is a tree that only exists on Hawaii.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you've ever been there. I used to live there for a couple of years.
Oh, what island were you on?
Oahu.
Oh, nice. No, I've been to Oahu, but mostly spent my time on Kauai.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, people always ask me, "Oh, I'm going to go to Hawaii. What should I do?" And the answer is, what do you want to do? Because each island's a little different. And when they say Kauai or Maui, I'm like, oh, so you want to smoke pot? Cool. All right. So there you go. But if you want to do something, you have to go to where the stuff is, which is Oahu, or like hiking on the Big Island. But, you know.
Yeah. I mean, most people don't go to Hawaii like, hey, man, let's go watch a movie. I mean,
I try.
Spend time on the beach.
Well, and if you're going to take the time and money and spend it to go to Hawaii, because it's not cheap, you know. I mean, I try and tell them, like, you're going to want to have some idea of what you're going to do. So koa wood is beautiful wood. You know what? I rescind my ban on the ukulele at this point. If it's made out of koa wood, and that's a good answer, sir. You get that.
That's impressive that you made Tom rescind something.
Wow. I mean, has anybody ever done that on this show?
No.
Wow.
But no one. Also, no one has ever admitted to playing a fucking ukulele either. So, I mean, I guess, so there you go.
I guess that makes us both assholes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He's going to get the other hand touching. So when we have our tattoos, we can put them right next to each other.
There you go. I don't have a tattoo. Maybe it's time.
Oh, it's
There you
time.
go.
It's time.
Question 5, and I don't know if we should adjust this for California inflation or not.
Nope.
Buying a pack of gum.
You could get one pop. So,
Yeah. So normal question is you have $9.18 in your pocket. You're at a convenience store. What all do you buy? But I mean, for California inflation, that's like what, $75?
Yeah. I don't think I probably spend as much time in convenience stores as you guys.
Oh, wow. The rare reversing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Let's see what your answer is. I'm pulling up my sleeves. So,
I am in California, so I think I'm going to buy a super burrito from a really good taqueria.
I was going to say, he wants to know if he can go to a Whole Foods, is what he's asking. And the answer is no.
Is it organic?
Exactly. Is this organic?
Okay, I'm going to answer your question because I take you seriously. I respect you as a nurse and father and person. So I'm going to put myself into this convenience store. And
he even says it condescendingly, convenience store. Do they even have kale shakes here, you bastard? So.
It's California. They probably do. I don't know.
They do have kale shakes. They're wonderful. Okay, so what will I buy? How much I have? $9.18?
Yes.
Okay. So I am going to buy a Snickers bar because I love them. I'm going to buy a Diet Coke because I love those and they are the perfect combination. I will buy some salsa and a bag of chips. And I'm going to save $1 because I'm going to give it to the guy who's standing outside begging for me for money. So I'm going to spend $18.18 in there.
Look at that. It's both for him, and he still found a way to turn around and try and make himself look good. Jesus, crime and Netley. Where do we find this asshole? Jesus, crime and
Nurse
Netley.
fucking Papa.
Nurse fucking Papa. That's your tattoo. That's what you got to get in like the old English script on you somewhere. Nurse fucking Papa. There you go.
As long as nobody can read it.
Write it in Gaelic.
Right. Are you calling me Gaelic?
I'd like to apologize to all the Gaelic people out there. No.
Yeah, we have like 30 listeners in Ireland right now that just threw their Guinness against the wall. So
I love the Gaelic people. I do. I really do.
I've been taking Rosetta Stone of Gaelic as we were talking. So there you go.
Does that exist, really?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that was 5 questions. That was interesting. That's probably the most fun we've had of 5 questions, I think.
Well, it's certainly the first time I've had someone fire back. Yeah, I'm like, ooh, all right.
I thought that was expected on this fine podcast.
Yeah. I think it was great.
Yeah, there you go. From a guy that's playing a ukulele, that's saying a lot. So there you go.
It's true. It's true.
I'm
going to write a song called Nurse Tommy.
Nurse Tommy the asshole. Kids stay away. He sucks ass. Ding 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 ding.
As he drives up in his white van with no windows.
Yeah, says free candy on the side and spray paint.
I've lost control. I don't even know what the hell is going on right now.
We're writing music, Ben. It's a process.
It's a process. We're artists.
Respect it. So
okay, well, we didn't do our social media stuff at the beginning of this because we wanted to talk about David because that's what this was about. But shit, let's plug ourselves. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all at Just Some Podcast. Websites, www.justsomepodcast.com. Email, admin@justsomepodcast.com. David, Nurse Papa, the podcast coming out January 2021. Nurse Papa, the book coming out
August 2021.
Where can they find you at on the web? Where can they email you at?
Okay, so once again, you can write a letter to Nurse Papa about any one of your parenting conundrums. Write to David at nursepapathebook.com, and I will read that letter, and I will answer that letter. If you do not make it onto the podcast, I will still answer your letter and get back to you. You can learn more about my book at www.nursepapathebook.com and learn all about what will be coming out next year.
Do you have like Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm Nurse Papa, the book on Instagram. and Nurse Papa on Twitter.
Okay, we'll make sure we get all that dropped in the show notes.
I have about 1,100 followers, and I think 950 of them are bots, and one of them is Donald Trump.
It's going to be very popular soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe 951.
Yeah. Damn it, Tommy has more followers than us on Twitter. I think we have like 100. So anyway,
nice. Tommy, how many do you have?
Counting 15? Myself, I don't know. Yeah, 4. So, yeah, exactly.
Impressive. Okay, well, I feel good.
Yeah. Well, you should until you look at that ukulele. So there you go.
Know.
Then bring yourself back down. So
I know. Gosh. I'm have to take a real deep look in the mirror now.
To the 3 listeners that are still listening to the show, make sure you check out Nurse Papa the podcast, coming out, I said, January 2021, kind of through Just Some Podcast Media. So, David, anything you want to say to wrap this up other than Tom making fun of your ukulele?
I think I'm good, other than to say that I'm really looking forward to this collaboration between our 2 mediums, and it's been a real thrill talking to you guys. It's been a real good time.
And if you don't want to talk to Tom anymore, I understand.
I mean,
I don't even want to talk to me. So there you go.
I thought maybe I would just put duct tape over one eye and then just look at Ben through the other one. And then later on, rip off the duct tape and also take my eyebrow with me because it'd be a more pleasant experience.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That is the physical, like if you want to know what it's like to talk to me, duct tape eyebrow off. There you go. That's me. So
now, Tom and I were pulled from the same cloth. I got no problem with Tommy.
On all of those notes, have a great week.
Hey, everybody, stay safe out there.
Thanks very much, guys.
Practice swearing just to pass the time. Lately I see why I am alone. I caught some road rage and I thought of you. And all the many times you say I should have known. Took a class so I could find my G. Found mediocrity's the best that I could do. Went to shower but I slept all day. It takes everything to live the life I choose. Oh, what do you say? I screw up everything and oh, what did you prove except there's only more for me to lose. Failure's not the same without you.